Linda's leather notebook sat untouched for years, until her niece, a Gen Z firecracker, begged her to spill secrets from a buried talent, writing filthy limericks. 50. Toronto's community centers had seen Linda bake, knit, even salsa alone, but never this. Yet when a virtual journaling circle popped up, full of women scribbling past midnight, she cracked it open. Ink bled through pages like old laughter. Turns out, empty nests leave space for wilder birds. Fam, who knew grief could rhyme? Linda's leather notebook sat untouched for years, until her youngest left for university, taking with him soundtrack of slammed doors and half-empty cereal bowls. Now silence draped their Toronto condo like an ill-fitting sweater, itchy and too big. She missed chaos like a phantom limb, reaching for a son who wasn't there. One rainy Tuesday, she nudged open that notebook, its spine cracked like her resolve, and pressed pen to paper. Words stumbled out, clumsy as her first step into spin class community center, where she'd lasted 6 minutes before pretending to tie a shoelace for eternity. But here, no one judged her shaky cursive or way she circled lonely 3 times before scribbling it into oblivion. Online, she found her people, a virtual journaling circle of women who'd weathered similar storms. A retired teacher in Miami wrote about her balcony garden. A grandmother in Chicago confessed she still set an extra plate out of habit. Their stories became Linda's lifeline, proof that emptiness could be reshaped, like dough under practiced hands. That notebook, same one she'd used to track soccer practices and parent-teacher meetings, now held her reinvention. Her deepest fear? Becoming irrelevant, a museum exhibit titled Mother, circa 2004. But ink transformed it. Each page was a rebellion against time, a middle finger to calendar. Some days she wrote grocery lists alongside grief, others, she sketched her younger self, one who'd rocked a neon fanny pack without irony. By spring, Linda's journal had more tabs than her internet browser, recipes, haikus, a questionable attempt fanfic starring her cat. She'd learned sadness wasn't a locked room but a season, and she'd dressed all wrong for it. Now, she traded sweatpants for metaphors, one messy page at a time. Her notebook, Linda's leather notebook, sat untouched for years, until her youngest left for university, leaving behind a quiet house and a fridge stocked with leftovers no one would finish. One rainy Toronto afternoon, she dusted off that worn brown cover, fingers tracing its creases like an old friend's wrinkles. Might as well scribble down grocery lists, she figured. But when pen met paper, something unexpected poured out, not errands, but echoes of a life half-remembered. A misfire with her tablet's touchscreen, damn thumbs refusing to cooperate. Post 50, led her to a virtual journaling circle hosted by a spry septuagenarian named Marjorie, whose Zoom background featured a wall of succulents and a neon sign reading "Messy First Drafts Welcome." Linda's first entry was a ramble about missing her son's chaotic drum practice, but Marjorie's feedback, "Honey, you're not morning noise, you're craving rhythm," hit different. Soon, Linda's notebook became less vault, more compass. She filled margins with doodles of her younger self, bell-bottomed and bold, next to grocery lists that now included by tulips, just because. Her local community center's bulletin board, a relic clinging to pushpins and hope, advertised a memoir workshop. She hesitated outside, clutching that leather-bound confidant like a shield, until a woman in paint-splattered Crocs winked and said, "Fam, your story's waiting." By winter, Linda's journal had absorbed coffee rings, a pressed maple leaf, and one spectacular ink blot that somehow resembled her first attempt salsa dancing. Marjorie's group had become her late-night lifeline, women across time zones swapping tales of reinvention, their screens pixelated but their laughter crisp. That notebook, once stiff with disuse, now flopped open with ease, its spine softened by purpose. On New Year's Eve, Linda stood on her balcony, snow dusting her shoulders as fireworks split sky. She didn't write resolution. Instead, she scrawled reminder, followed by a single line, "Leather bends. So do we." Linda's leather notebook sat untouched for years, until her youngest hauled last duffel to college, leaving her Toronto condo echoing like a half-empty community center after Zumba. That first night, she stared its cracked spine, fingers hovering. 50 years old and suddenly untethered, who was she without packed lunches or parent-teacher conferences? She cracked it open, ink bleeding hesitant loops. Day 1, microwave dinner. Forgot how quiet forks sound. Pathetic, but honest. Next morning, she Googled journaling for sad moms, embarrassing, and stumbled on a virtual circle, strangers sharing pages every Friday. Their screens became her lifeline, a grandma in Albuquerque, a widow in Maine, all stitching stories like a quilt. Linda's entries grew less about missing her kids and more about rediscovering her own rhythm. She signed up for pottery classes local rec center, chuckling when her first vase resembled a deflated soccer ball. Progress, not perfection. Weeks in, doubt crept back. Was this just glorified navel-gazing? Then she found an old list tucked in Notebook's back pocket, Linda's 30s bucket list: learn Spanish, hike Algonquin, write a play. She'd forgotten she'd ever wanted these things. That leather cover, once a relic, now felt like a dare. By winter, she'd filled half pages. Her virtual fam cheered when she posted about stumbling through Hola with a Cuban grocer, her accent butchering verbs but her grin unstoppable. Notebook became less about what was lost and more about what could still unfold, one stubborn, inky word at a time. Linda's leather notebook sat untouched for years, until her youngest left for college. That's when she cracked it open, fingers trembling, ink bleeding onto creamy pages like a silent scream. Toronto's autumn chill seeped through her apartment windows, but she barely noticed. Grief had made her numb. Yet with each scribbled word, warmth crept back, memories of sticky pancake mornings, school plays where she'd mouthed every line from front row. Then came wild idea. A virtual journaling circle, because Lord knew her knees couldn't handle folding chairs community centers anymore. She pitched it to her book club, like a slumber party, but with fewer PJs and more existential crises, earning snorts. Even Marjorie, queen of side-eye, smirked. But when Linda shared a raw entry about missing her kid's laugh, silence fell. Then sniffles. Then, when's next one? She went all in. Set up a Zoom room, slapped on lipstick, a Power Move 50, and hit record. That leather notebook became her co-host, its spine creaking like an old friend cheering her on. Week 3, she dared a gutsy move: tonight, we burn shame. Write one thing you'd never say out loud, then rip it up. Screens froze. Marjorie typed, "This is woo-woo crap," then promptly sobbed over her page about feeling obsolete. Viral fame hit like a maple syrup tsunami. Someone screenshot Linda's empty nest. More like a free-range mom post, and suddenly her inbox blew up with, "You get me," from women in Texas, Florida, even a nun in Albuquerque. A local news crew ambushed her mid-workshop, capturing her flustered, "Hold on, fam, my cat just hijacked keyboard," blunder. It played on loop during segment. Standing ovation. Library workshop sealed it. As strangers clutched their own notebooks, eyes shining, Linda thumbed her leather-bound lifeline. Marjorie elbowed forward, waving a tattered composition book, "Started mine yesterday," and crowd roared. Wind howled outside, but inside. Pure fire. I finally belong here, she thought. And damn, it felt good. Linda's leather notebook sat untouched for years, until her youngest left for university, and silence swallowed her Toronto condo. One restless midnight, she cracked it open, scribbling half-formed thoughts like a sleepwalker. Words bled into weeks, pages filling with messy truths, grief over quiet hallways, pride in her kids' wings, even that odd habit of talking to her spider plant like it owed rent. Then she stumbled on a virtual journaling circle, women across time zones sharing stories, snacks, and solidarity. Screen names became fam, vulnerability sparked laughter. Linda's entry shifted from size to sparks. She chronicled rediscovered joys, tango classes, a community center, misadventures with sourdough starters, how her notebook spine softened with use, just like her heart. Months in, she began guiding newcomers, her screen a beacon. "Your story's a seed," she'd say, watching blooms unfurl in others' lives. By 51, Linda's journal bulged with pressed maple leaves, concert stubs, and scribbled epiphanies. Empty nest. Nah. It was a runway. That leather-bound companion, once dusty, now held a map of her reinvention, and proof that words could stitch a life back together, one page at a time. Grab your pen, your next chapter.